Call this meeting to order. Our normal practice is to start with is please silence your phones. I don't want to hear anybody's phone number. Unless you're on emergency services or emergency calls, I can allow that. But just to have a phone call, no. Also, we'll stand, take a moment of silence led by Councilwoman Judd, and say the pledge of allegiance. A moment of silence is for our service folks.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Here.
Redline,
Here.
Newcastle,
Here.
Kiesler, here, Judd, here, Nichols,
Here.
Roebuck.
All right, before I take a motion to open the public hearing from the council, I'd like to go over a couple guidelines and rules for you that apply in every public comment as well as public hearing. You'll be allowed to speak up to 3 minutes, and you're allowed one time. And when you do the 3 minutes, you'll be told your time is up. If you continue and it isn't shortened, you may be asked to leave, because it's a disruption of keeping the meeting moving. There's a lot of people here. I don't know how many are wanting to speak. The bottom line is we got another meeting after this one. So this is a courtesy meeting because Planning Commission asked for it. We all approved to go ahead and do it for public to speak. So that's what this meeting is here. The council is here to listen to you. It's not for us to comment and comply and do whatever. It's your time to speak. And then when you stand, please state your name and where your residence is. And then as I asked, just be courteous to everybody. We're all in the same room, same community. There's no possible way to be hostile over something like this. It's just talk, that's it. So, I'll offer a motion to open up the public hearing.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Fred Lyon, second by Newcastle. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye to open the meeting.
Aye.
Who wants to be first?
I'll be first. First, I'm Jose Brown. I live at Scenic Lake, and I'm the attorney for John Liskey. And I'm proud that he asked me to do this, so there's no hidden agenda here with Mr. Liskey and Rhonda and Roy, their son. Roy and my son went to school together. Rhonda and John and I have been friends for 30 years, so I'm honored that they asked me. I don't know if council has this yet, but I want to provide you with a ballot proposal. Each one of you, if I can approach and just hand it out to you. Thank you. These were filed with Ms. I'll leave one for Mr. Rodebeck. These were filed with Ms. Willoughby late this morning, around 10 minutes to 12. And I wanted you to have these before I talked, and I'll try my best to limit my discussion to 3 minutes, so I won't even look at my notes. As I understand what occurred back on, and you can page through this, and what it is it's 60 residents of the city of Laingsburg, registered voters that voted in the last gubernatorial election. There's a provision under the medical marijuana provision to allow for local city municipalities and ballots to be initiated by the citizens of the city. This is a ballot to initiate, and the language that you'll see is at the very top. Mr. Rodebeck, there's one there for you also. The language that's important, I believe, is at the top, that will limit the amount of medical marijuana establishments in the city of Laingsburg from 2 to 1. So that's the important ballot language. And what I'm going to ask you done tonight is that Ms. Willoughby certify the wording of the ballot proposal so that it can go before the voters of the city of Laingsburg. And I want to limit my comments, as Mayor Culpeper said, to 3 minutes. But here's what I understand occurred. Back on September the 10th, I appeared before City Council and provided City Council with a written legal memorandum of what my position is as to whether the notice period had expired, whether the permit period had expired, and whether any new applicants could now, whether a new period could be allowed to allow a new permit to be filed with the city. As I understand it, from the resolution that followed the ordinance with regards to 2018 medical marijuana in the state of Michigan, 2020 there was an ordinance passed by the city and then a resolution to extend the ordinance time period with a cutoff of December the 31st, 2020. 2 applicants filed. One canceled out because they didn't have their site plan and didn't have their plans in order and didn't move ahead. Mr. Liskey did not. His business moved forward because it was within the time period. He complied with all the site plan regulations, invested all of his money into the organization, and Rhonda and Roy and John have done a wonderful job, as you know, in putting up a store across UK's market. So with that being said, a new applicant was apparently approached by the city saying that the time period, who knows whether he knew whether the time period had expired or not, but he applied. It was after the December 31st, 2020 cutoff, and my opinion provided to the court, provided to you, based on court decisions, was that the resolution and the ordinance had to be construed together. And in construing them together, the permit period was closed and the city should not open it up. That was my opinion. No further permits should be allowed based upon the present setup. So the city decided we would have a public hearing to decide whether we're going to do one of 2 things. And the 2 things, just to cut to the chase, are: one, are we going to extend the time period and allow an indefinite period of time? And that's one of the resolutions that's in your package tonight. Or number 2, whether we're going to stick to the cutoff, and the cutoff period being December 31st, 2020, and not allow any new permits, which would in effect say we're only going to have 1, unless the city does something in terms of a resolution or an ordinance. Now, that's where we're at tonight. This ballot proposal that's put before you gives you a solution. And I don't think it's a Hobson's choice when you say, okay, if I decide that we're going to extend the time period, then we're not going to be sued. Or if I decide I'm not going to extend the time period and the time period's cut off, then we are going to be sued. So I don't want the city to be in a position where you have to make a Hobson's choice and say, whichever decision we make, because I heard that at the last city council, that we're going to be sued. And so you're worried about the legal choices that are here. The 2 choices that you have to make are not the 2 that you have before you. The 3rd choice and the best solution, I believe, is to let the people here in this community and in this public hearing, who may probably signed this petition, and allow them to vote on it. That's the best solution. So let the voters decide is my request to you. Thank you, Mayor Culpepper.
Thank you. Next.
All right, for those that don't know me, my name is Jeff Giesler. I am the head of the Planning Commission for the City of Laingsburg. We were the ones that made the recommendation that we have this public forum. So I want to give just a couple other details. I'm all for having a medical or a marijuana store in Laingsburg. I'm just going to give you some of my thoughts on it, okay? One of the arguments that I've heard really for and against it is, I need my glasses. Competition. To me, competition shouldn't have anything to do with this, right? I've heard things about having multiple restaurants, multiple hardware stores, multiple dentist offices in Laingsburg, right? And the competition is good, right? But my question is, and they compare the medical or the marijuana stores to those different businesses, right? Well, my question is, do any of those businesses have a state or a local restriction that they can't be within 500 feet of a school? I don't think so. So they are definitely different, they're a different business, right, than those other ones. So saying we want competition is not a valid argument in my perspective. Now, the other side to it is, if a business can't survive in a competitive situation with other businesses, then they didn't put a good plan together, and that should be, so I'm all for competition, and basically what I'm saying is, competition, both sides shouldn't be used, okay? To me, this decision is more about reputation for the city of Laingsburg, right? Do we really want, and let's go back to, there aren't very many places that you could put one of these shops in Laingsburg that they're not 500 feet from the school. Obviously, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but that's how small we are, right? And for some reason, somebody has decided that these businesses shouldn't be close to a school. There's got to be a reason for that, right? Do we really want multiple of those businesses in our little town? If we're at Lansing, we're in Wausau, we're in St. John's, okay, maybe we're bigger and that's a different story, okay? We had two petitions that went out. One that had 27 people, businesses signed those petitions, right? What's important about those is those people that are businesses, they're investors in Laingsburg, right? They've invested in Laingsburg. And if they don't want it, and people aren't going to invest because of this, that's going to be a problem. I don't care how much the city gets from having a multiple store that may or may not survive because of competition. I've heard there's not enough room in Laingsburg. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, right? But if it only ends up in one, what are we doing other than having other investors not invest in Laingsburg, right? The other, well, and I've also heard that somebody, I think from the city, has told a couple of these people that signed this petition that they shouldn't have done that, because the city might get sued because they signed it. If that's the case, there's a real problem here, right? I mean, that's almost mafia-style ways of doing things, okay? And that's twisting somebody's arm. Hey, if you sign that, we're gonna get sued. You can't do that, right? And if that's the case, then there are problems. And if the city's going to get sued because somebody did something wrong, there needs to be an investigation of that. And it doesn't seem American that you can't sign how you believe it, right? And isn't that what America's all about? Signing what you want and putting your opinion out there? So. And so I'm going to end with, I'm going to follow up with what Jose said, and basically said, I think the best option is to follow, let the voters decide and have it go on the, and I think it's going to go on the petition or the ballot anyway, so I think that's the best option. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Next.
Ed Carpenter. I'm not a resident of Laingsburg. I live on Peacock Road. I happen to be neighbors of the Liskey family right across the street from our property. I don't know anything about the marijuana business, but I suspect, and it's hard for me to believe there is enough business in the Laingsburg community that really support two businesses. And I want to talk about the community. Laingsburg is a very special place. Most of the businesses are locally owned, and local merchants really support the community. I'm a member of the Lions, and I go around and give out flyers about the Lions Festival in the spring. Every merchant in Laingsburg allows a sign, except the dollar store. They're not locally owned. The Liskey family has been very supportive of our community. When Roy and his sisters were in school, Rhonda was a big workhorse for the school. Done the same thing at their local shop they've started now, very active in the community. My concern is there isn't enough business for two thriving businesses. One thriving business can support the community. Two struggling businesses can. So that's my feeling. I hope that I'd rather see one strong business than two weak ones. So in closing, that's it. one is better than two, one strong one better than two weak ones.
Thank you.
I'll stand in a kind of pseudo-podium spot, and we'll follow my neighbor Ed Carpenter. My name is Joni Starr. I also live on Peacock Road. I'm actually here as a member of the Laingsburg Area Recreation Committee. And as you all know, and maybe many of you here know, that it was a really successful summer for our first time to use the amphitheater in McClintock Park. And so that was really great. And the local Roots store, their generosity in fully producing 4 concerts with high-quality, well-known musicians free to Laingsburg community and surrounding communities did not go unnoticed and part of our great success. And this isn't the only generous move by this company, by this family, by this store. They support every fundraising effort that asks them for help. They offer a special discount when eating at local restaurants, so they're encouraging the economy for local eateries as well. The generosity shows that the owners of Local Roots are not in it just for the money. They are a family that care about their community. Another reason I wanted to follow Ed, because he harped upon that as well. Giving license to a second store will seriously compromise the Local Roots store and the community of Laingsburg, which receives so much generosity from its owners. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Next.
My name is Scott Mackey. I live in Williamston, but I wanted to come and weigh in. I do think it's a little bit of a misnomer to say that, for us to, that 2 businesses would necessarily not be viable. There's no way that anybody could really say that right now. It's speculation at best, and of course that's also the nature of any business. Every restaurant, every barber would love to be the only game in town. That's just not the way that things work. And we stand here in this room and we pledge allegiance to the flag, and then we're like trying to shut down people's freedom, how they can do business and where they can do it. And I understand that things work as a municipality, but I just think it's really unfair for the township to edge somebody out before they even have their go. Just because, these are very good people, I'm sure they are. Most people are really good people. But, you're talking about business. I don't think any studies in any other city reflect a major negative impact to any municipality with marijuana businesses. It actually shows that crime and other negative meters have gone down in the presence of those businesses. And you guys have already had one for a while, and I think most people have probably found that it hasn't caused them any problems. The only thing here is the protection from a perceived loss of business to the already operating person in town, and I get that. I don't want to see anybody go under, but I just think that it's fair to consider the ideas that this country is built on and how business is really done in America, before we go ahead and just shut somebody down. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll go next. Good evening to you all. My name's Wendy Cribbs. I own the Dairy Den, and I have to read, so I don't. I'm here tonight as one of the 27 Laingsburg businesses that have signed the petition to not support the opening of the second dispensary. There's been much discussion about competition and monopoly concerning the second license. Us 27 businesses, we've established our business in Laingsburg, and we're keenly aware of each of our competitors. We pay attention to several aspects of our competition, one of them being the proximity. Part of our success comes from that proximity of our competition. There should be some distance. We are a small town in an area that's more populous than Laingsburg. It is able to support a physically neighboring competing business. The Dairy Den has 3 competing ice cream shops, and thankfully none of them are right next to me. But don't be mistaken, they're still my competition. I pay close attention to their specials, to their prices. We have 1 grocery store, we have 1 hardware store, we have 1 animal hospital, we have 1 dance studio, we have 1 pizza shop, we have 1 bar, we have 1 sub shop, we have 1 eye doctor, we have 1 ice cream shop, we have 1 coffee shop, we have 1 dental office, we have 1 golf course, and we have 1 dispensary. Mayor Culpepper, during the city's September 13th meeting, you were able to list off 4 or 5 competitors of Local Roots with no problem, and they're not here in Laingsburg. All of our businesses have competition. We just do not need another one in our small business. As local business owners, we pour our time, our energy, and our money into our small town businesses. We have a local community that supports us over in the neighboring businesses. Paula, at the February 22nd DDA meeting of this year regarding the application process, your quote is saying, initially allowed for 2, but you're hopeful for 1. And we got that one that's truly committed to our community, local roots. They are giving back and they are doing for our community. Please hear us when we ask you not to accept the second application, and please allow the voters of Laingsburg to decide it. Thank you.
My name is Bob Ford. I'm not a citizen within the city limits of Laingsburg, but I do frequent Laingsburg a lot, and I'm lucky enough to work with the city over time. How many dispensaries do we need? East Lansing had the same type of conundrum, and the way that they went about it is they created districts, and within each district, which is about 10 times the population of Laingsburg, there'd be one dispensary. They made sure that it didn't conflict with other dispensaries. They also made sure that it didn't conflict with schools or daycare centers, like I hear could be locating right across the street from where this one is proposed to be. So within those parameters, it might be worthwhile to take some time and to analyze your city, analyze the district, and figure out what makes the most sense and how many there should be and where they should be located. And hopefully they won't be clustered too much together, so Laingsburg gains the reputation of being a pot city. Thank you.
All right, I guess I'm going to jump off. I was kind of waiting. My name is Lisa Jelinek, and I'm representing the Clothesline and the Connection, which are directly across the street from the Klotz Building at 120 and 124 East Grand River. I'm the lady who brought the petition to the City Council with the 27 businesses. I've been in touch with them, I've been talking to them, I've been texting them. One, folks, and done is the message from 27 businesses in this town who have spent time, talent, treasures to make this tiny town what it is today. We moved here in 2000, and now we're in 2021. This town looks so much cuter, so much better, because many of us have taken time, talent, treasures, and put into this town. So please listen to us. I plead that you do that. And today I was appalled. What is this letter that came in the mail? A public hearing on October 18th at 7 o'clock with the Planning Commission. I don't understand this. Could you please help me understand, Mr. Mayor, what is this letter all about? Or Paula, it's from Paula. I am shocked getting this as a business owner in the mail today. So could someone please help me understand the origin of this letter? And I'm asking you, please, it's never too late to start doing what's right. Please, and please respond to this letter that came in the mail today, to me, to my husband and I. Thank you very much.
Anyone else? Yes.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Yellen. I'm a current voter and I live in Laingsburg. I'm raising my small family here, and I feel that you guys should be able to leave it up to the people in our city to be able to vote something like this in. Because this was something that kind of caught a lot of us off guard, and I'm all nervous. But it did, it caught us off guard, and it's nothing against anything that you guys are doing. I just personally think that it's something that should be done within our city, seeing how we only have so many voters in town anyways. But yeah, that's all I have to say.
Anyone else? Yes.
Oh, sorry, I know I look like a child in a pop show, but I assure you I am not. My name is Riley, I live on Round Lake, and I would just like to speak on behalf of local roots and everyone else who supports them. They have not only done so many things for the community and helping the eateries and things like that, but they have put so much into this community aside from their business. They have been here long enough to build that trust, to build that friendship, to build all the things that you need to create a successful business. And they really care about the people that they're helping and, for lack of a better word, treating. Like, I know a lot of people have medical marijuana cards, and treating that helps a lot. And bringing another business into play, it's not going to be the same kind of feeling. They're a lot of times, I've seen it done in Owasso. They're monopolized. They're a big company that comes in and they take over, and I've met the people that work there, and it's just not the same kind of feeling. They don't care about you the same. They don't know your sister. They don't console you when your dog died. They don't, which I know doesn't necessarily mean a whole lot, but it does. A big part of businesses is your community, and these people have built a great community before and after their business, and I think that's really important to take into consideration, because we are, for one.
I'll go ahead. My name is Clint Hawks. I live out at Lake Victoria. One thing that I think hasn't been mentioned yet is I understand that this is a vote of the city, and being residents from outside of the city limits may affect or not affect your decision. But if it wasn't for Lake Victoria, Scenic Lake, Round Lake, all of the rest of the townships around us who come into town, spend time with our kids, spend time, our money, our time, all of the things that we do for this community, our voice should be heard. And I want to thank you for having this open session. Because it is not just the city that drives the businesses that are here in town. What I want to reference, secondly, is the letter that Lisa was talking about, with a site plan from Nature's Cure LLC to have their site plan submitted to be discussed at a meeting of the Planning Commission on October 18th. The optics of this from someone outside is that you guys have already decided that this business is going forward and we are accepting a site plan and just waiting to get their $28,000 and being ready to put this business into place. Before this hearing started, we get the letter that says this is already happening. Those optics look horrible from the city. And I understand the Planning Commission has a job to do, but this process was over December 31st, 2020. And it looks completely wrong. None of you answered Lisa's question, so I'm going to ask again. Would someone please explain the optics of what this works, of how this works, and what this is about? Because it looks horrible from our side, as in the council's already made their decision that we are moving forward to accept a site plan from a business that is not licensed, has not submitted a business plan. It is during the time that was open, nothing happened in that. Only the businesses, the one that fell out and they couldn't finish, and the one that is a business here. So, with the time frame being closed, this looks really, really bad.
Mr. Mayor,
The answer to your question now, so.
well, actually, what I wanted to say is what I would do is keep this to public comment right now. That's why the council's not answering, because it's going to be a back and forth and everybody's going to have a question. I see everybody taking notes and such, and I think that those can be addressed at the end. That way it gets out, and then the mayor can call on folks for additional questions later if need be.
So we can ask our questions.
That's up to your leadership here. But I just think in order to get.
And we afterwards that we can discuss with them. Is that what you're saying?
During public comment, during the council meeting, we'll have a chance to comment as we think, just like any other time. Next.
My name is Jordan Strait. I live here in town on Cum Street. And definitely just hearing that last bit sounds really scandalous with the whole letter. That's just one's opinion. But as a parent, as a father, as a youth softball coach, Roy and the team have been right behind us with any support, for all our fundraisers and benefits we've had for the girls and trying to get them some more attention. Not to mention their shop is cute. You know, no one's understanding it. It sits back off the corner. It's really easy for me to educate my kids on why I'm not downing painkillers and why I'm not drunk. I mean, it's really nice. I mean, we start getting more in there and it starts, oh, Daddy just want to get high. No, daughter, it's because I swing a 20-pound hammer and my back hurts. This man can look at me and I can be treated. Just like I go to Dairy Den on date night. And this girl can make me a sandwich for me and my wife that we walk to, and it absolutely makes our day. Ed grows the best dang apples. We get our Christmas trees there every year. We can get a cheaper one for $20 down the street. But it's not the experience. I mean, it's that small town life, and I love it.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'll say something.
Go ahead.
Mike Putnam, Scollier's Tavern. I just want to say to the council, I know you got your hands full. I know it's going to be a very hard decision for you all. And I know it's legal. But a lot of it hits to the small town and they talk about competition and everything. Well, I can tell you right now from competition, it is very tough. You struggle. You, in a small town, you're pulling. And you're not going to pull people from Wausau, Perry, St. John's, DeWitt, in to get this product because they're all over the place. Same way with it is as buying a bar. You're going to get your local people coming in. And unfortunately, during the pandemic, we lost one. And yeah, for me, I'll be honest, I'm booming. I'm doing great. But I'm not saying that by having another place come into town, it's not going to hurt the other one. You don't know. You don't have a crystal ball. Nobody knows. Is it going to help them? Is it going to hurt them? Is it going to hurt both of them? Because they split. So down the road, are you going to lose both? Nobody knows. What I'm just saying is that you really got to think hard about what your decision is going to be on this. Because you might end up with 1, 2, or you might end up with none at all down the road. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Someone here.
Tom Neiman here. I was at one of your meetings probably 2 years ago when the first ordinances came about. At that meeting, there was probably 3 people in attendance. This is great to see the support that has come out now to support this. So obviously, from 2 years ago to now, the public opinion has changed, and the interest from the community obviously has changed. And I would urge the council to definitely look at the numbers here and look at, obviously, we have a defined population base, and a defined population base can only support so much of anything. Just like the gentleman here said, is people from Owasso, people from Perry or St. John's are not going to be coming to Laingsburg to get product. It's just in our area. So by adding another business into the mix, that product mix obviously is going to be distributed. The amount of money the city gets is only based off of the total revenue of all the businesses. It's just a percentage. Besides the application fee, the city will not make any more money off of having multiple businesses. Because obviously, like I said, the amount of sales will still be defined with 1 business or 2 businesses. Then it goes to economics from that point, saying that, well, now 2 businesses with the extreme cost, and I say extreme cost to run a licensed business in the state of Michigan with the taxes, the fees, the accountant fees. They have to pay for a certified accountant every single year over several $1,000s to review their books, plus all the other fees that go in, that just either will drive their prices up now that they have competition, or put them out of business. You have a good thing going right now, you have a family that has done it right, that has truly took an interest in their community and invested back. Because once those fees and all those, and that profit goes down, they will not be investing back into the community. They can't afford to unless they're gonna go out of business. So please, I strongly urge you, do the math. Really do the math and see if that is best for the community.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Hello, my name is Josh Covert. I'm an attorney. I work out of Lansing, and I actually represent the group that put out the site plan, The Cure. They currently have a CBD store in Lansing that they've had for several years, and seeing the effect that CBD has had on people, both medically or medically, that they've decided to branch out further into the licensed cannabis industry, and they've come to Laingsburg to be one of the two. Originally, the ordinance was for two. It still reads that way, and that's what we're asking the city to continue on with. I love hearing all the stories about local roots. I've heard a lot of good stories about local roots before I even came to Laingsburg, from being from Lansing and working in the cannabis industry. And I love hearing that so many people here support local roots. We want to be that part of the community too. We want to contribute to the community. I heard somebody that had a business downtown said, we came here in the year 2000 and the community was different, and we feel it's better now. They've been here for 20 years. We want that opportunity too. We want to be able to come to your community, be a responsible member of the community, give back to the community, just like Local Roots is doing. And so, and we only have the one store in Lansing, and that's it. So we're not this multi-state operator with locations all across the state or anything like that. We're just looking to have our opportunity here in Laingsburg. So I wanted to make sure that was known. I also wanted to correct one thing that I heard. It was mentioned that the tax is generated, the check that's issued to the community has to deal with the taxes generated from this municipality, and that's not true. What happens is all of the taxes generated from the retail sale of cannabis get put into a pool. You then get one share for each license from that pool, not based on what's sold to you. And I know money's not the main concern, but that was brought up, and I thought it was appropriate to address that you would receive more additional revenue, the city would. Last year it was $29,000 for each retail establishment. Again, it's not all about the money, but certainly that's not a bad thing. That's only one way we would plan on giving back. So anyway, I just wanted to let that be known. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
Hi, Mark and I just want to urge the city council to stand by their previous decision. We've got 2 marijuana shops in town. By the way, Mark and Margaret Platts, owner of 105 Grand River, and we live at 9504 Chadwick. There are 2 permits available by ordinance, and a process was put in place to apply for the permits. The resolution that applied at deadline was, as we know, created because the council felt they may be inundated with applications. As it happens, they were not. It was never intended to limit the available permits to only 1. Interesting about limiting that and the competition that people talk about, because using that logic then, is Twilliger's going to ask that another bar not be opened in the Boondock building? Because of the close proximity to that, and is that going to be an issue? As one Laingsburg resident posted on the Laingsburg community page, first things first is there are 2 licenses that have been approved from the beginning. There's only 1 license available since the other's taken. It's no different than having 2 dollar stores, 2 gas stations, 2 restaurants, bars. Laingsburg should welcome any businesses, even if there's 2. It's called growth and create jobs, tax revenue, and even help fix up some of the old buildings that need new life. That particular post received 71 likes from the Laingsburg community. As Mayor Culpepper himself said during the September City Council meeting, all businesses have a right to come to Laingsburg. Thanks. Oh, by the way, Mark and I have been in business here since We opened up in 1979, 42 years, so we know.
40-plus years.
Yes.
I've been in the community myself.
We've been together like 54, so, but anyway.
We were here when I was growing up.
Yeah. So, we know all about doing business in town and competition, and we have always gotten customers from all over, not just Laingsburg, Hazlet, Okemos, East Lansing, Williamston, Mason, everywhere. Ovid, Elsie, St. John's. I mean, there's no reason to think you're
It's all
limited.
about competition.
You're not limited to, you know, what's within 3 blocks, that's your customer base, not at all. So, anyway, that's our 2 cents.
Anyone else? Yes.
Hi, I'm Nancy Brown. I live on Scenic Lake. And I just, first of all, want to thank you for taking the time to get the input from our community regarding a proposed second dispensary. I have lived in the Laingsburg community for over 30 years, 34 to be exact. And I've supported the resident-owned businesses throughout that time. It is to my dismay that business owner Rhonda Liskey, John, Roy, and family may have their livelihood compromised by a council decision to approve a second dispensary right across the street from their now business location. I know Rhonda as an advocate for the Laingsburg school system. She participated and promoted activities to engage students and personally built and maintained an educational garden at the middle school for years. Rhonda has been a good friend, or a friend and good citizen to the Laingsburg community and her husband John. Rhonda and her son Roy and John have invested their financial future in their business. It is my understanding that the second proposed dispensary, CBD, is owned by a guy named Chad Bosinski. He owns other stores, to my knowledge, in Lansing. We have all seen larger companies come into the areas. They deflate their prices and small businesses are priced out. The end result is a cost increase for area consumers once they have destroyed the local businesses. I have 2 last comments to make. First of all, isn't business about supply and demand? Is there any proof that the demand is not being met here? And lastly, increase in the tax base may be recognized in the beginning, but will not be sustainable if Liskies lose their business. I prefer to support a majority-owned female business and her family that also has an interest in the community as a whole, like Brenda.
Anyone else?
Is that okay?
Last shot.
I guess just to kind of touch base on like you said, you know, it's our right basically to do.
I'm taking notes, so your name and...
I'm sorry, Justin Allen, I live downtown Laingsburg. As like I said, it's like we're given that right to whether we want to shop at local roots or we want to shop at, I guess, this dispensary that's coming into town here. I don't shop at either of these stores. You know, we shop a lot in Laingsburg. We spend a lot of money and time in Laingsburg on. We eat a lot of ice cream, you know, a lot of Subway and stuff like that. We try to support everybody. It's just that's not forte. You know, it's kind of neat to see, like, I guess elderly here touching base on this shop, because before they would have shut this down to begin with, right? I mean, like a couple years ago, they'd be like, oh my God, marijuana shop coming to Laingsburg, let's shut it down, you know? So, I mean, it's kind of nice to see this, you know what I mean? So, I think regardless of the situation, or regardless of what your decision is, or our decision, if we are allowed to vote, I mean, obviously, we're gonna shut that down. If this shop comes into Laingsburg, once again, we have the right to walk in there and we have the right not to. We can also shut it down because that's what we're gonna do regardless. You know what I mean? Any shop in town, if we didn't like it, we can walk away from it. You know what I mean? If they come into town, we don't have to shop there. That's our right as an American citizen. Even though the last 18 months we compromised some of that, we still, you know what I mean, have that decision. We're allowed to do that. I guess just that's kind of what I'm at, regardless of your guys' decision, which means really nothing to us, you know what I mean?
Thank you.
We ultimately have the right to do what we want to do. Correct?
Exactly.
So you guys collect 28,000, we'll be happy either way, right?
Anyone else? First time, second? Motion.
Motion to close public hearing?
Second.
This public hearing is closed. We'll vote. Any discussion on closing the public hearing, council? All those in favor of closing the public hearing say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed by aye. Public hearing part of the meeting is closed for the marijuana licensing facility. Item number 5, action regarding deadline for marijuana facility licensing permits. Take a motion to open the floor of council for discussion.
I'd like to move.
Second.
All right, I had like 3.
Okay, move second, whatever.
Councilwoman Geisler's motion.
All right, the floor is open, council, for your questions and actions as far as what we've been through tonight and what we got on the table.
Mr. Mayor, good time to speak.
Sure.
I would like to speak regarding this, and first, I'd like to welcome everybody for coming here. I'd like to thank everybody. This is what government should be, open and transparent, not in smoke-filled room behind closed doors. I would also like to thank everybody who worked on the petition. That takes a great deal of time and effort. But sadly, upon closer scrutiny, there are signatures of non-Laingsburg businesses and residents. While we respect and appreciate the views and opinions of those who reside outside Laingsburg, they do not pay taxes in the city of Laingsburg. Council's responsibility is to the tax-paying residents of Laingsburg, not Woodhull Township, Victor Township, Lake Victoria, or Scenic Lakes. I would now like to give a brief history and timeline of the marijuana ordinance in Laingsburg. November 6, 2018, 64% of Laingsburg voters voted to legalize recreational marijuana in the state of Michigan. December 2nd, 2019, Council approved unanimously 2 recreation and 2 medical permits based on the unanimous recommendation of the Planning Committee. February 3rd, 2020, Council unanimously added 2 micro permits to the ordinance, again, based on the unanimous recommendation of the Planning Committee. All marijuana permits have now come in 2s. 2 for recreation, 2 for medical, and 2 for micro. There is now the potential for 6 dispensaries in Laingsburg. There was no opposition from the DDA. They supported it. October 5th, 2020, by a 5-1 vote, Council approved the unanimous recommendation of Planning Committee for a recreational marijuana permit for a business now located in the 100 West Grand River block. September 24th, 2021. Sadly, cancel culture has now come to the Laingsburg City Council. In a letter from a non-resident of the city or even Shiawassee County, which stated any council member who voted to support 2 recreational marijuana permits should resign. That brings us to today, October 4th, 2021. There is 1 remaining recreational permit. In closing, council members take an oath upon taking office to uphold the law. The ordinance is still in effect and is still the law. I would be remiss and negligent in my sworn duties if I did not uphold my oath of office and ultimately the ordinance in question. And so would every other council member here today. The ordinance still allows for 1 recreational permit and does not have a sunset clause. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, council. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
I also want to thank everybody for coming in here and voicing your opinion on both sides. I'm open to both sides of this thing. I do agree with his analogy of what happened along the way, but I do think something changed and people started to engage and people started to make their voice heard. And 27 businesses, 15 of them right downtown. Yes, they're not citizens possibly of the city, but they pay property taxes to the city. They have requested the city council to consider taking it from 2 licenses to 1, just like we took the micro grow from 2 licenses to 0. We still have the option of doing these things. It's if we're going to do them, it has to go through a vote, and that is what this vote is for. Now we have a petition having city council signatures. It has enough signatures on here for it to go to the ballot and for the voters, the actual voters of Laingsburg to decide. And I think that's where we're at. I am okay with having 2. I just feel like that we need to figure out, at that time, maybe that's what people wanted, but maybe things have changed. And I think that we should consider putting it on the ballot and letting the voters decide. I feel like it's my city council, that I am a vote, but I am representing the people that voted me into this office. I feel like it is a freedom to have businesses down here. I agree with that, and I am not opposed to having 2. But what I'm saying is this particular thing has 2 licenses, and I feel like the voters should decide.
Mr. Mayor? Yes. We've been discussing this since marijuana's been legalized in Michigan since 2018. We've had numerous public meetings, public hearings. Nobody shows up. Only 1 person has ever showed opposition in those meetings until very recently. We've had a total of, including tonight's meeting, 44 meetings regarding medical marijuana and recreational marijuana. 18 of them are for planning, 24 from the city council, and 2 from the DDA. No opposition in any of the meetings until tonight, or the last meeting. The vote before us is not if we should allow another marijuana business because the license has already been approved. The vote tonight is about whether or not that time constraint is appropriate. So we're not actually voting tonight whether to allow 2 businesses or 1 business, or whether or not that time constraint is even just. So, with that, I close on it.
Anyone else?
I'm intrigued by the ballot proposal. I'm just not sure how it would work and when it would work. For example, scenario, we say, let it go to the ballot. When? Can we get it in by this November? don't know. I know ballot language has got to be approved. And I don't know if that's by the city because it's a local referendum, or if that somehow has to be approved by the state or county clerk, because language cannot make it onto a ballot unless it's approved. We got an election in 6 weeks. Or we have an election in 1 year and 6 weeks. So whatever action council takes tonight, whether it be to extend and open the period for application, or to close, which is already closed, but to certify that the application period is closed, which in essence, you know, if we never open it up again, it doesn't matter if we have 12 licenses. But what happens if we as a council say, let's open it up, they can apply, this gets to the ballot next November, and the voters decide they don't want one, but we've got 2. What do you do now? Flip a coin, see which one closes? I am not sure how that works. I'm intrigued by it. Let the voters decide. That's great. However, how does that work? Do they decide in 6 weeks? Do we hold off for 6 weeks and say, no, we're gonna close this process until the voters decide? Well, what if it takes a year for the voters to decide? And what do you do in that interim period? I don't know. You open it up, you let them build, and then once they've built and once they've had their grand opening, the Wednesday after the first Tuesday in November, they gotta close their doors? Or do you flip a coin because now we got 2 and we've only voted for 1? You know, I'm wondering about this and I don't have the answers. Counselor?
Can I address council? Is it all right?
Very quickly.
I will. I'll try to be quick. First of all, Mr. Newcastle, the 27th petition that was filed has nothing to do with the ballot proposal that's filed tonight. That's an initiative to place it on the ballot. The petition that was previously filed in September was
different. Yeah.
That was completely different, so you can't be misled. I would suggest that the ballot proposal or the initiative that's been given to you should be analyzed by each member of City Council so those answers can be answered by an attorney, not necessarily by me or not necessarily by Mr. Colbert, by Josh, okay? That's fine, have City Council review it. It's not going to get on the November ballot, but I understand that there is a provision in the city charter that allows for a special election too. So you can call for a special election. You don't have to wait till next November, as I understand it. So I think that there's some clearance that can be done by this if you have it reviewed by your own attorney. I'm happy to put a legal opinion together for you to give you that analysis, but
pro bono?
Sure, pro bono. I'll do it for free. I'll do it for free.
Completely not one-sided.
My first letter was not one-sided, Paula.
I'm just saying there's 2 sides to this.
Mr. Preston and I agreed on the issue with regards to the first letter, so that's why it's a legal.
This is why we don't usually let people speak during the middle of council.
She called it out.
Yeah,
You called him out, and this is how it rolls when we start doing that.
So it's just, you know, now you understand why I did address it the way I did.
So Paula, in the interest of my ignorance, would you like to explain?
Well, yeah, since this was dropped in my lap at noon today, I spent the rest of the day trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do with it. And I called MML, I called the attorney, I called another marijuana attorney, I called the BOE, and you know what they all did? They really didn't offer me any help. They pointed their fingers at each other, told me you can't talk to marijuana, can't talk, I'm like, it was crazy. So, I'm reading the law, and I found an attorney. But it does say that shall be, and I had this well before this petition came in hand, submitted to the electors of the municipality at the next regular election. Does not say we have to hold a special election. This overrides the city charter. That's the marijuana law. It also says that the city clerk has to review them. So you don't know this petition, you don't know that the signatures are accurate, so you have to give me time to review the petition. The language has to be reviewed. This is not ready to be talked about.
Right now, it's just a piece of paper.
That's correct.
Until it's validated, everybody's a registered voter and everybody lives in the city and that's clarified, and I'm sure you understand that. We can't take any action on this. We do know that if it is legal, next November, there's going to be an election. We are, by law, as spoken, to follow it. And I just will remind everyone, council and so forth, that the city residents, not the state of Michigan, the city residents voted 64% to legalize and have shops. So no matter what happens, there's 64% of the percentage of people in here in this city that say they want the shops here. So on the vote, it will be quite a challenge, but that's up to each and every individual to do whatever they feel is right.
I have a question. Maybe I'm ignorant. But that vote, did it say to have marijuana, but it didn't say how many or what type in it?
Oh, no, that's up to each city and
Right.
so forth. That's
So
why
we
we
do
spent
have
25
it.
months doing it.
Right, but we do have it. But that vote really, we did, these 64% of people that wanted it, we do have one.
Right, I understand that. I'm just saying the percentage of people was well over 50%, is all I'm saying. So, anyone have anything else to say?
Can I?
I'm not taking any more audience talk here.
Yeah, but percentage of what number? How many voters? Was it 100 voters, 500 voters, 1,000 voters? Makes a big difference. You could do a special election.
We are not discussing that right now.
That
And I'm not taking any more comments, and if I hear you again telling me what I have to do,
I didn't
that
say you have to
gentleman
do
will help
anything.
you out the door. Because I have that
I'm
right.
just saying, what's wrong with the special election?
We're not educated, and I'm not going to answer any more. Any more out from you, chief can escort you out. Okay. Council, what do you want to do with this? We'll wait for discussion with council.
Yeah, I'm everywhere. I understand what all of this is saying, and I understand what everybody is saying. And really, I really don't understand any of it, but I do, but it's interesting, and it's, I agree with his analogies, and I agree with everything that Gail said, but it's hard to figure out or to know what to do without the legal knowledge, and I just don't do that. But then at the same time, we have numerous suggestions, and none of them line up exactly, so it's hard to make that decision, and I don't know exactly where I even stand.
Well, the hardest part is, we've had this discussion since 2018, October of 2018, and we've invited public to come to these discussions so that we could form a plan, so we could come up with a business plan, so we could figure out how many stores we wanted, how many licenses we wanted, what the procedures would be. Nobody showed.
I have a question. So if we open it up, I mean, that's what's before us, to either extend the thing, not extend it, or to take off limitations totally. That's what's before us. So
Would you repeat that again, please?
Okay, we have two options.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. We basically can extend the deadline or not extend the deadline of the resolution. Or we can rescind all this time that are put on the restriction to totally open. My question is we took an application when I think we all agree that the deal was closed. And now we've got someone in the queue. Are we concerned, do we have a time frame that lots of people can still apply, I guess? Or are we just, that's what I'm getting kind of.
We have not accepted any applications other than something for planning commission for a special land use.
Oh, I thought they said they put money down.
Well, facts are facts.
Well, that's, if you, I mean, you want to know what happened.
Okay, yeah, I'd like to know, I guess.
We have received an application for a special land use permit. The process would be that they have to have that in hand before they can apply for a medical marijuana license in the city of Laingsburg.
Okay, when they've said that they put a certain amount of money down. what was it?
$750 for
That's all
site
the
plan
money?
review.
That's all the money they.
I don't know what they paid Mr. and Mrs. Klotz, I don't know what they paid their attorneys, I don't know what else they've been involved in.
I mean, it kind of looks like to me from reading the material is there was a time frame set forth and the original gentleman that applied just didn't go through with it, and the third party here, no idea until the last meeting, I had no idea that we even had anybody interested, I guess. So, I mean, that kind of throws a little loop into things a little bit. And it looks like we had a deadline, and that was it. They didn't meet that deadline at that time because it was after the fact. So, I mean, I'm still trying to fathom a third party involved that I never even knew about, that was even interested.
Yes.
To go along with what Marcy said, there was, if by chance, which I hope not, I hope nobody fails in the business in the community, but if Listy's or Local Roots does not make it, and then as of right now, we only have one license, I mean, I know we have two, but if we make it to where there's one, or are we gonna open the time limit again? The issue is, how do we open the time limit? Can we, should we? That's the issue at hand, honestly. And are we gonna, if they fail, are we gonna do special treatment, be like, okay, now this person, we're gonna open it to them? I don't know.
Well, there's no time limit on any other business.
Right, I know,
If you want to open a bar tomorrow,
This is a little more complex with the state is the problem, with dealing with either a bar or a marijuana place. It's a little more involved, I think, too, so I don't know.
I think you're making a little bit more, the state regulates it, they make the laws. Real quick history, we've had no problems with roots, we've had no police reports, we've had no crime. I mean, what's the basis here? I mean, when you talk about back and forth, the statistics show there's no harm being done as far as the city. Don't know. But the bottom line of it is it's our decision to make to extend it or take it off or leave it dead. But we still have an open license that can be opened any time to get rid of every one of us. I don't care. But the next council could vote it right in.
Okay.
I'd like to make,
Hold on,
I'm sorry.
Hold on, Councilman Newcastle.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Is this a valid petition?
We don't know that.
We don't know yet.
We have no clue if it's good or bad.
And if it is good, then it needs to go on the ballot.
Next November.
And if it's not good, well, you know what you can do with it. What do we know about this petition right now? Do we know if it's valid? We don't. Do we think it is because it looks good? Yeah, I think it is because it looks great. Doesn't matter what I think. Council has been presented with petitions for a referendum. And we keep talking about, yeah, we got to vote this thing up, or yeah, we got to vote this thing down. No, we've got another option. Procedurally, we can buy us some time by tabling this issue. Now, I haven't made the motion yet, but we can table this issue and figure out what we do with this petition duly signed for referendum, and we can come back and probably within a month we can figure out, is it valid? And if it is, what does that indeed commit us to do as a council? Does it commit us to have a special election or in the next regular election? Because we have signed petitions, I have to sign one of these every time I want to vote. So they're not just a piece of paper to me. I've been circulating them my entire political life, and it's been long.
So my question would be, as I've already accused of being scandalous by sending out what is required by my job, a notice to residents within 500 feet of the application site. We have deadlines, we have rules that have to be followed. I have a job to do. Doesn't mean I want marijuana, doesn't mean I don't want marijuana. John, my friend, doesn't mean that he got special treatment, none of that. But what it means is, I shouldn't be accused of doing something scandalous because I mailed out a letter informing citizens about a public hearing. That's my job. The public hearing is required for site plan review and special land use. I have no control over that. I did what I was supposed to do.
Your
Now,
boss,
if
your
you guys-
bosses are not mad at you.
If you guys put that off another month, what does that do to the staff? What does that do to the applicant? So there's more at play here than that. We're doing our jobs in that office. We're trying to do the right thing. All these people talk about how many great things have changed in Laingsburg in the last 20 years. You know how long I've been working for the city? Anybody? Almost 22 years. Yeah. You know, I'd like to take credit for that, but instead, I get ridiculed. I like to take credit for these people helping make all of these things happen in this town. And do you think that we want one of our businesses to fail? We do not. Do you think we're trying to help people and be, you know, unbiased when people bring in petitions and we try to do our job, but we get ridiculed? We get phone calls that we sent out a letter with bad email addresses on it. We didn't send out the letter. We didn't give out the bad email address, but we took all the phone calls. It has been way more than stressful, unduly unnecessary in our office. There is no reason for this to continue any longer. Someone needs to make a decision.
Thank you, Paul.
I'm gonna make a motion to table it. I know she wants us to go forward, but I feel like we need to analyze what's set in front of us.
Is there a second? If no second.
I second.
All right, we have a second. Discussion?
I'd like to have more info in my head.
Procedurally, a motion to table, there's no discussion allowed, you have to go to the public.
Okay, we'll do that.
I'm sorry, I hate to
That's
be
all right.
that.
I got more than I can handle on my mind. All right, let's do a roll call.
So what's the question?
The motion is to table.
Judd,
Yes.
Nichols,
No.
Rodebeck,
No.
Giesler,
Yes.
Fredline,
Yes.
Ducastle,
No.
Culpepper.
No.
So I have to decide what to.
I don't know what to do.
I know.
I just know motion to table fails. The motion to table has failed. So now we step forward to wherever.
I would like to make a motion to open the application process indefinitely for marijuana facility permit application, City of Laingsburg.
Second. Motion to,
And what?
Supported it.
No, I didn't.
Oh,
oh, David?
Dave,
Dave did.
man, I thought it was right in my ear, sorry.
I'd be right in your ear in a minute.
Okay.
Discussion.
Discussion on the motion. And the motion reads, is that the city will open the application process like said indefinitely for marijuana facility permit subject to permit availability and provisions of the ordinance. I read the wording, so you have that wording. So is there other discussion? No discussion?
Judd,
No.
Nichols,
No.
Rodebeck,
Yes.
Giesler,
No.
Fredline,
Yes.
Ducastle,
Yes.
Culpepper.
Yes. Motion carried to Open the application process indefinitely for marijuana facility permits subject to both permit availability and the provisions of the ordinance. Now reminding folks that if this ballot is fine, it's gonna be on the ballot in November. What anyone does from this point on, with the motion carrying, will be a business decision on their part. I don't know if anybody's gonna wanna open a store up with this hanging over their head the next year. That'd be their decision. All right.